welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and this is Nigel, and we are here to talk to you today. Every time I say his name, he's like, okay, I can go. All right, just sticking butt out my face. So I'm talking about my worst books that I've read in 2021. Also included in this list are the ones that are disappointing. So ones that I went into with high hopes and that let me down. And so if you don't like worst book lists, like, don't watch this video. They didn't work for me. They worked for other people. It's just an end of the year video that people do every year. And so let's get to it. These aren't necessarily ranked from like least worst to best worst. Are they? I don't know. It's just how I wrote the list. And so I think I have a little more than 10, maybe 12 or 13. And so the first one here is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is more on my disappointed, and it's more a disappointment because I had heard so many great things. I did hear, conflicting reviews, but I was really hoping that this was going to be a really amazing sci-fi series that I could get into and just really be in the Gideon the Ninth train, and it did not work for me. It was just so strange and confusing and, dare I say, convoluted at times, and I just didn't get the hype. I don't personally love Gideon or this Harrow person, and then I considered maybe reading Harrow the Ninth, even though I really was not loving Gideon the Ninth, and people were like, it gets even more confusing in Harrow the Ninth. So I'm just gonna save myself the time. I'm not continuing. I'm really sad, but it was not written for me, and I understand that. Hi, Stinkaboo. Say hello. He's so sad. Say hello. Not just very grumpy. All right, I have Dune by Frank Herbert. So I know this is again disappointing because of how much I've heard about this book and how it's so foundational to science fiction and fantasy and one of the greatest science fiction books ever written and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, it's more about timing, that there really was no other book at the time written like this. So of course it's foundational and then influence things coming after it. But like, as far as like the book in general, I don't think it's that amazing. Obviously it was written in like the 70s, the 60s. And so I'm sure people reading it then were like, oh my God, but from this privileged point I am standing in now in the year of our Lord 2021, when I have read so much other science fiction and fantasy that is obviously, yes, inspired by some of the themes and things that were in Dune, but is so much better. I'm just like, okay. So I understand people who have like the nostalgia bit with Dune, who still think, they read it when they were younger, still like really important to them. They read they read the books after that. But I am legitimately confused. If you've read other science fiction and fantasy that has come after that, and then you read Dune for the first time this year and you think it's the bee's knees, I'm confused. I don't get it, but that's your right. Nigel, what are you doing? You. Whew! The Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. Is it The Royal Assassin? I love adding in an extra. It's just Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second in the Farseer trilogy, which I DNF'd the third book this year, or that would be on here too. But what I read of that one, also disappointing, just because of how much I heard about how much people love this one and love Fitz. I will say Robin Hobb's writing is extraordinary, and I am encouraged and will be trying Ship of Magic. I haven't hauled this one yet, so spoiler alert, but I am gonna try Ship of Magic, or this is the Live Ship Traders. So I am gonna try this one. I think this is a trilogy because her writing is beautiful, but the story of Fitz, I mean, I can read sad stuff, okay? I can read heartbreaking, sad things, but my God, girl, you gotta break it up. I don't know, it just did not work for me. Also, all three books you're only in Fitz's head. I think that was a big thing that drew down the enjoyment of the series for me. And Royal Assassin, just like, I felt so annoyed reading it because it was so long and I felt like things were so obvious, but the characters were just like, oh no, we have no idea what's going on. I'm like, what do you mean? It's right there. So I was frustrated the entire book. And then, like I said, Assassin's Quest, I DNF'd. I got people, I think I got like 40% through maybe. I got people to spoil it for me and I'm upset at how that ends. I think, no ma'am, not okay. So I was extremely let down by those two books this year. Nene, why are you always sleeping when we're supposed to be working, girl? Sadly, White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson is on here. This was before I realized I was tired of the Get Out comps, but it was pitched as Get Out meets The Haunting of Hill House. And like I said, when I did my wrap up, I think of that month I read it. I loved Get Out, the movie. I loved the Netflix adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House. And so I was really excited about the book. And I had read Grown, wasn't the biggest fan of that one. Read Monday's Not Coming, loved that one. So I felt encouraged about White Smoke. And it just, I just think she was doing a lot and didn't handle all of it well, and the ending, and just so many things. I was like, Tiffany, girl. So I'm feeling hesitant. I don't know if I'll read. I may give her one more chance, but yeah, White Smoke was a big letdown, and I don't think that the pitches, the comp titles are accurate. It's more like When No One's Watching by Alyssa Cole, but like a younger version of it and like a more in the wing version of it. Yeah, it laid me down. This next one is a nonfiction title, and that's Vanderbilt. That was written by Anderson Cooper and Catherine Howe, I think that's her name. And I've always been intrigued about the Vanderbilt family. I only know little bits and pieces here. And so Anderson Cooper's mother is Gloria Vanderbilt. So he wrote this book. It was called like The Rise and Fall of an American Dynasty. And I was like, ooh, sounds juicy. And parts of it are super interesting, but there's just parts that to me don't make sense. Like there's like endless parts that he goes on about like Truman Capote and like this super in-depth thing of this ship that was sinking in this yacht race or something. Like I'm like, get back to the family. And it just didn't chronicle the family like I wanted it to be. It was almost like these were the top gossip lines about the family over time, and let's talk about them. And it doesn't sound as good as you would think it is. I don't know. There was something off about it. I was seeing other reviewers having similar feelings. There were really high points and then really low/slow points that I just was bored. So I was just let down because I really like Anderson Cooper from what I know of him. Obviously, I don't know him that well. And yeah, again, just interested in learning more about the Vanderbilts. And it was just, it could have been done better. So was sad. Another nonfiction that I was really disappointed by was Big Friendship, which is by, is it Anne Freeman and Aminatou Sow? I'll have an image of the book on the screen, but I went into this because I don't think a lot of books, or like books in general, like nonfiction books, really focus on friendship. They usually focus on romantic relationships. So I was really excited about this one. They're friends. They've been friends for a really long time. And before I read this book, I didn't know that they had a podcast. So I think this book is really perfect for people who are fans of them from their podcast, but I didn't know that. So I just read it. We'll listen to it. And it's so weird how it's written because they both read parts of the story and they switch from like we, and then they'll switch to like the third person, and they'll switch to like I, and I'm like, what is going on? Didn't love that. And also, I don't know, it just I felt like sometimes they were trying to be like relatable, ooh, broke millennial, but in reality they were not my kind of broke millennial. I'm like, I know you live in California, which is an expensive state, but still I know people who live in California who don't make six figures. So, you know, your tiny violin, I'm not feeling sympathy for you. I don't know. I just didn't connect with it at all. And the things that I wanted them to go in depth about, they were talking about moments in their friendship where they had these big issues and how they overcame that, but they didn't really talk about how they overcame it. Like they would talk about it a little bit and like gloss over it. And I'm like, but that's what I really wanted to know. Like we don't really get that discussion. And I have, cause one is white, one is black. And so I thought that was really interesting, but they only touched on that a little bit. So like what I went into it hoping for, it just really didn't deliver. And they really just kind of focused on this kind of like phrase they branded or something. I'm like, I don't care. And I don't know. It just didn't speak to me. I know some people it worked for, did not work for me. So I was really let down by that one. And then I was also really disappointed by Psytonic by Brandon Sanderson. And to be fair, this one has a little asterisk by it because I was doing like a read along with Elle and Jessie in preparation for Psytonic to come out. So I reread Skyward, I reread Starsight, and then I read the 2 novellas, and then I read Psytonic. So I feel like normally I wouldn't read them so close together, and it's my fault because I put off reading, and then I had to like read Psytonic in like a day. I had read it like, started it one day and finished it the next, and I think I was just burnt out on like this specific science fiction series. So some of the things were just annoying me because I'm like, I know, I've been hearing this for days on end, like I know. So I think that played a big part in it. But then also just our main character, Spensa, starts out the series on her home planet of detritus, and she's with these classmates, and there's this great group dynamic. And the second book, the world expands, but she's traveling by herself. And then I was hoping that in Psytonic, she would be going back home, and she doesn't. And I'm like, I just really miss that. I felt like this adventure, it felt, I wish that it was either parts of Psytonic and the novellas were edited together to be one big book, so we could get other perspectives while also getting Spensa off on her adventure. But then, I don't know. I didn't love it. But then during the live show, we were discussing, like, obviously we're not the target age for this book. So for a younger audience, they probably really enjoyed it and love seeing Spensa off on these adventures. So I feel for myself that some of the themes in Skyward that Brandon is, it's almost like really big space opera themes, but they're not being handled as well, explained or tackled as well as they would be if this was an adult series. But since it is a young adult series, it's kind of simplistic and it makes sense. You know, I'm not the target audience, but I enjoyed some parts of it, and I'm looking forward to the final book, which I don't know when that'll probably be out in a couple of years. And hoping there's a return to detritus with the crew, because that part of the story is my favorite. So that one unfortunately did let me down, but maybe when I reread it in prep for the final book, then I'll have different feelings, because I'm not going to marathon read all of the other books and like burn myself out. So fingers crossed. A quick thank you to Bokksu for sponsoring today's video. I've spoken about Bokksu many times before, and it is a Japanese snack subscription. So you can get authentic snacks shipped straight from Japan to your home. And with the holiday season, I think it's an excellent choice for a gift for yourself or one of your loved ones. Also, currently, anyone who subscribes to Bokksu before December 31st is entered into a giveaway to win free tickets to Japan. Yes, you heard that correctly. So if you use my code JESS010 and the link that's in my description, you get 10% off of your Bokksu subscription, and you will automatically be entered into the giveaway to win free tickets to Japan. So if you do that, if you subscribe before December 31st, even if you're doing it as a gift, you will be eligible to win. So there are amazing treats inside every box. Each box is a different theme. They're always full to the brim. They have a little booklet that helps you learn where the snacks are from in Japan, all of the ingredients, any allergens. It's an amazing subscription. So again, click the link down in the description, use my code JESS010 for 10% off of your Bokksu subscription, and you will automatically be entered into a giveaway for free tickets to Japan if you subscribe before December 31st. Thank you so much to Bokksu for sponsoring this video. So Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Ayumide. I don't have the book in front of me, so I apologize if I messed up the name. Oh my goodness, this is getting so much praise and hype. Again, was pitched as Get Out meets Gossip Girl. Haven't seen Gossip Girl. Obviously, I like Get Out. Tired of the comp titles, but whatever. And yeah, it was just really, I saw everyone on Twitter talking about it and on BookTube and Bookstagram. Like, it was so hyped, and so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get the book. I love the cover. It's cute. I want to support a Black author. And I am amazed that the author wrote this. Like, started writing it when she was 18 and like finished it right as graduating from university. So what? Amazing. And this one just felt like nothing. I mean, like, it was a thriller, but like nothing good happened to the characters. Like, the two main characters are Black. One is poor, one is rich, and the poor one, I mean, poor him. I mean, everything. Mom working multiple jobs, can barely feed the family. He lives in the ghetto. He's all like all these things, and then things just kept happening to him that were just sad, 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 sad. There are many things in that book I didn't like. Did I make a video talking about Ace of Spades? I think I might have a separate video talking about Ace of Spades. I think a lot of the books on this list, not a lot of them, but at least 3 or 4 books on this list have separate videos where I talked about them because they were very popular books that I didn't understand, you know, where the love was coming from or the problems I had with it. So it just let me down. I really wanted to love it. I don't know how I feel about the ending. There were just many issues. I won't go into all here. Again, you can watch that video. I'll link it up above, but it had potential. And I haven't watched Gossip Girl, but I wasn't feeling the vibes that I have, you know, that I thought of what Gossip Girl would be in this. It just really felt like, wow, it sucks to be black. That's how the book sounds. That's how I felt like the book. Like, I don't know. I just wanted it to be the answer not to be racism. And that's been a theme in a lot of popular young adult books lately, and I don't like it. This one wasn't like disappointing. It was just bad. Because I didn't go into it with high hopes. I only read it because I loved the character from a previous series, and the book is called Down the Hog by Maggie Stiefvater. I am not a fan of the Raven Boys. I liked certain parts of the books, but overall they're not great. I do love Ronan and Adam, and so this is a spin-off Ronan series, or it's supposed to be, and so I found a free copy, and then I read it with Leanna, and if the book was actually really just focused on Ronan, I think it could have been, you know, moderately more enjoyable. I still don't think I loved Maggie Stiefvater's writing, but it was, you had a Ronan perspective, and then you also had someone else's perspective, and then also someone else's perspective, and I just did not care about the other ones. I wanted to get back to Ronan. You barely saw Adam, like, so I'm not continuing, and I just don't like her writing. I don't like her writing. I don't think it's good. I don't think her mode of storytelling is great, and I definitely don't like how that book was structured at all. So definitely one of the least enjoyable / worst books I read this year, for sure. The Bromance Book Club by somebody. I feel like she has 3 names. Oh my goodness. Again, bad / disappointed because I had heard great things and I borrowed from the library, and I just was like, can y'all be more annoying? I have to be invested in the couple to care about the story or the relationship. And this couple, I was like, y'all just need to get a divorce. So the couple is already together, and I think the wife admits to the husband that she's been faking her orgasms, and then they are basically separated. And there's a bromance, like a book club, all dudes, where they read romance novels to try to learn things about women to better their relationships. So I'm like, this is such a cute premise. In theory. Also, I listened to the audiobook, and there would be excerpts of this like historical romance novel in the book, and they would read those, and I was like, I don't care. I don't care about that novel that you're referencing. I felt like the conversations between the guys felt really fake. It was like, oh yeah, a woman definitely wrote this. Like, she was like, how to write, this is what I want men to sound like. Because they would talk about like feminism, and they just didn't sound real. Not like men can't talk about feminism and actually like be interested in it and believe in it, but all of their conversations felt super manufactured and just like stiff, and they felt like a script. And so didn't enjoy that. The wife was so annoying. I was like, leave her, please. She gets on my last nerve. And the sister, oh, please. Nobody in this book was, none. There was nothing for me. I was like, y'all are annoying. When the children would come up in the story, I was aggravated with the churn. I was like, shut up. Like, who cares about the kids? Can y'all just get on with the story? Like, everything about this book made me mad. I was so over it by the end. I'm like, I truly do not care what happens to y'all. I don't know if any of you deserve happiness. You all suck. That's how I felt. So obviously I'm not continuing in that series. It definitely worked for some people. 'Tis not for me. But it is what it is. I recently read this one, and it is If We Were Villains, and by ML Rio, and I have always heard of this one as like a must read if you enjoy like the dark academia vibe in your books, whatever it's called, a vibe, an aesthetic, a subject, I don't know. And so I finally read it, and I was like, one thing I didn't know going into this book was it's all about Shakespeare. And I don't care about Shakespeare, like, not to be like dismissive, obviously he's important person in history, had to read him in school. I don't like, now in adulthood, I don't reach for Shakespeare. Like I'll watch an adaptation on like a movie. Again, I would like to plug Much Ado About Nothing. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. It's amazing. But like, I don't care about Shakespeare. And that was this entire book. All the students are theater students. They only study and do plays about Shakespeare. They randomly quote Shakespeare. Everything they do is Shakespeare. I was like, I don't care. Like, it would just be like a part of a sonnet or just a random thing. And I'm like, even if you really like Shakespeare, do you just like quote it all the time? Maybe people do. I don't know, but I didn't care. And the story, the way it starts out is you start out the story knowing one of the people in the friend group definitely isn't the killer, which I feel like lessened the like mystery for me. Like I still at first didn't know who did it. Then I was like, oh, okay. And I definitely did not like the twist. Is one of those things where I'm like, do better. And I can't say what it is because it's spoilery, but I didn't like it. Most of it was boring. And then once we find out like who did it and why, I was like, you should have scrapped this and started over. Okay, Star Eater by Kirsten Hall is disappointing / terrible. And I'm so upset because one, it is the first physical arc that I have personally requested and was sent. So I was so excited. The premise, it was described as, so it's supposed to be an adult science fiction novel about basically cannibalistic nuns. I was like, oh my God, this about to get fucked up in a bad way, but a good way. You know what I'm saying? And then I get the story and I'm just like, like there is cannibalism. There are a couple moments where it's like, but like the story was slow. I felt like important things we should have known up front really came at the end. The main character was so, I was having this conversation with a friend about like what exactly makes a book YA. And I still don't know, but this definitely felt younger and not an adult novel because the main character, there was like a love triangle and it was just wishy-washy and whiny, and the part of the story was kind of interesting. Like with the magic, there's like the women have their magic, and if men get the magic, then they kind of go bonkers, and so they can't have it and they like control that. But then like some of the nuns have to sleep with the men so they can create future nuns, you know, like, or sisters. I don't know. It just didn't come together well. It felt slow. I don't know. I feel like it's like 400 pages-ish or less. It felt super long and I just didn't feel like it was moving. And then like it finally came out. I still didn't finish it. I got the audio and I was just like, boring. The ending, no. It had great elements, but altogether they did not work, or they just won't put together right. And I'm just salty about it because the premise and the cover, it sent me an arc and I was so excited. He let me down. Sorry. I've saved the best worst for last, Legendborn. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Again, I want to repeat that these books, especially White Smoke, Ace of Spades, Legendborn, you know what other books should be on this list? I'm about to add it. Catherine House. Although these books are on this list, especially these are by Black women, and I wanted to love them and I just did not. But I'm glad that they're out there and that they're getting published and that there are readers who love this book. I am very happy about that. But Legendborn, again, with Ace of Spades, I was lied to. So much hype. Even people who didn't usually read young adult were hyping this book and telling me it was amazing and So I'm not some like big into the what's it called, Arthurian legend, but I know this is supposed to be like kind of a retelling or play on the Arthurian legend with our main character Bree. She is in high school but going to like UNC Chapel Hill for a summer program. So UNC Chapel Hills College, and she goes with her best friend. She recently lost her mother, and she basically stumbles upon this magical world and is wondering if this is going to get her answers or figure out what happened to her mom, because they just think it's an accident. So cool premise. Like I said, it's not like I was like, ooh, Arthurian legend, but I was like, okay, sounds cool. Hearing great things about it, beautiful cover. Okay, no, just so much. So much. I had so many issues with this book. Like, Bree accepts magic too fast. She also is like the only black girl basically in the story. Like, she finds a secret society and everyone's white and basically looks down on her because she's black. And I'm just like, I've seen people have this conversation on Twitter, including the author, saying like, you know, it's a relevant thing because there are often black people who have to navigate all white spaces, and especially at predominantly white institutions, which I went to one. And I'm like, that's fair, but also this is a fantasy, so you could just make it up. And I don't know. She obviously it was a lot of social commentary. There were storylines and parts that got talked about like slavery and so I understand wanting to make social commentary and stuff, and I just don't think what publishers want and what black authors are writing right now in the young adult genre, I don't think are for me. Because I want these stories, but I want to take race and oppression out of it if it's fantasy. Like, because you can just make up the rules. Like, there could be some other big bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't need to be the big bad always goes back to racism. It just doesn't have to be. And me, personally, I'm sick of that story. And of course, since I talked about this earlier with Psytonic, it is worth mentioning that obviously these books are marketed for a young adult audience, and I'm an old adult, so they're not exactly meant for me, but that doesn't mean I can't find enjoyment in them sometimes. But just lately, I feel like they have really not been meant for me. So I felt like Legend was very long. The print was very small. I ended up getting the audiobook because I was like, oh my god, why are the words so small? This is YA, I want big words. I can't see. Bree, there's a love triangle. There's one of the love interests who's literally a dick to her. Like, he's always like trying to kill her, or, you know, thinks she's super suspicious, and then it's like, oh no, never mind, I was wrong. I just had so many issues with this book. And at first, when I first finished it, I was like, you know, I'll consider reading the next one. And now I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I will. I don't know. But yeah, like, the reveals at the end wasn't that surprising, but like, why was, like, if you're ready, you know, I'm just like, really? Really, Tracy? Anyway, I also would like to say here, I will try to put them on the screen together, that I don't think Bree looks the same in the next cover. I don't like it, so there's that. I'm mad about it. So, since I mentioned it, Catherine House by, again, I'm not remembering anyone's name. Again, I'm glad this book works for some people, but Catherine House was a whole lot of nothing. Like, really, we're just following this one character who drinks or smokes or something all the time, and maybe some odd things happen, and it really was just like, okay, we're introducing the story, and then it just goes like this. And then the ending happens, like a little bit, and then it's over. And I'm like, huh? But it flatlined early. I can't even remember at this point. Anyway, I can't even remember much in Catherine House besides I kept waiting for things to happen and nothing happened, and then the end happened and I was like, what? But the ending happening was like the most happening, and it wasn't even that much happening. Do you know what I'm saying? Not a lot happened. It was a book full of some kind of vibe, not my vibe. And then of course, Over Flames by Sarah Janet Maas. This one, again, have a video for. So many problems, so long. It is so long. It is so long. It is so long, and it's ridiculous. And there was like a dab of a plot that was like so secondary, it's not even funny. And it was just Cassian and Nesta fucking all over the place, which is fine. It's not like I'm against smut. I love it. But I like it when it's well written and we use real words, not like velvet coated steel and the apex of her thighs and all these weird things, and I just thought it was dumb and it was too fucking long and I'm mad about it. And some of the stuff at the end with Feyre and her, I don't know if that's a spoiler, and Reese, who's a D-bag, and justice for Tammy. Please, Tamlin deserves justice, okay? When people want to shit on Tamlin and then hold Rhysand up as like this prince of perfection, I'm like, did you read the book? Because Rhysand ain't this great man either. He has his faults, as does Tamlin, but everybody shits on Tamlin. It's very disrespectful. I'm sick of it. I barely got to see my baby daddy Lucien. I know it's Lucien, but I don't like to call him that. I call him Lucien, okay? Barely, and he deserves happiness, and that happiness is not the wet napkin that is Elaine, okay? Please, something else. That book could have been like 350 pages shorter. That ridiculous competition where these warriors that have been training for years somehow, spoiler, whatever. Terrible, it's too long, but you know, there are people who loved it. I'm glad you love it. I will not lie and say that I will never read anything by Sarah J. Again, if she gives me a Lucien story, I will give it a chance. And also I hate Nesta, so that was not enjoyable. I'm sorry. A lot of people are like, oh no, she changed her mind about Nesta. No, she's still a bitch, still the worst. She can kick rocks. And finally, of course, the love hypothesis. Everyone should know my feelings on this. Recently had a rant video about this, but my God, I hated the Bromance book club, but I hated this more. It was just, you can watch that video, but all of the female character, or all of the heroine is like, no one has a real personality. Everyone feels like a cardboard cutout, and her thing is quirky science girl, and Adam is like broody science man. And there's just so many issues in the entire book. I mean, the writing was fine, I guess. It's nothing special, but everything else was like cringe, and it's not spicy. Okay, there's one chapter and I don't even think that's that great of a sex scene. I guess it was fine. There's some odd choice of words and phrasing there. Hint, I put her whole boob in my mouth. Cool, great. Not trying to hate on those itty bitty titty committee, because I would love to be in that committee, okay? There's no hate, no shade. It's just a fucking weird phrase, okay? Nothing was believable about the relationship to me, and some people commented on the video that maybe it was because it was fan fiction that was published, and it's a Reylo fanfic, and I know who that is, but I don't watch Star Wars, so I'm like, know anything about them. And so they were saying maybe it would have been better had I been reading like Reylo fanfic, because then that would have been like, they would have been built up and felt more real, and their relationship would feel more real, which sure, I guess. I don't know if everyone who loved it has read Reylo fanfic, but I need the book to stand on its own, because it wasn't like the third in a series. It's like the first one, so it should just stand on its own. And I think maybe that's a problem with fanfic to being a published book. I don't know, I'm not a writer, but no. Absolutely not. Olive, whack. Her best friend, the worst. Adam, beige. Like, nothing. Was there anyone good, like a redeemable character in that book? Maybe her roommate was okay, but I don't remember who his name was or whatever. Sexual assault thrown in there. Was that necessary? It just all was the worst for me. So, I think that's it for me. That's it. But so far this year, I've read 121 books. So if I only had those as like my worst, most disappointing, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my description box, ways to support my channel, ways to find me on other places on the internet. I'll list these books, I guess, if you want, down below. But thank you so much to everyone who watches and supports the channel. Thank you to my patrons, and I hope you all stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Nigel, you're sleeping on the job. Nigel.